Hello everyone, my name is Tahukan, and I was lucky enough to get into an early screening of Shazam, which for once means I'll actually be able to get a video out before the film is released, and I'm really excited about that. So before I get into the actual review and my thoughts on it, this will be a spoiler for your review, so don't worry if you're going to see the movie, you just want to know, is it good or bad? Am I going to waste my money or not? However, there will be a spoiler part, but I'll put up a thing on screen saying warning, so do not worry. Shazam is DC's latest foray into the superhero genre, following rather quickly off the heels of Aquaman. I enjoyed Aquaman, first time I'd been able to say that about a DC film since the Dark Knight trilogy, which is arguably the best superhero trilogy ever made. That's not relevant to this, but I just want to say that. Shazam stars Zachary Levi, Mark Strong, Asher Angel, Jack Dylan Grazer, and is directed by David Sandberg. It's set in the DCEU, where such glorious Oscar-worthy nominees such as Man of No Emotions, Depression v. Depression, Dawn of Therapy, Suicide Squad, a World War I movie, Not Avengers, and the aforementioned Fish Guy. Shazam is better than all of those. I'm gonna tell you why, okay? I'm gonna tell you why. It has a lot of things they don't have. It has a story. It has good actors that don't seem like they're being held up at gunpoint. It has a color palette that isn't just grays. I didn't want to shoot myself afterwards. It was set in Philly. Now seriously, the strongest points in Shazam lie within the writing and the performances, something I think all of those are lacking in. They present a certain version of the world where everything is dark and bad. You can disagree or not, I really don't care. I'm just saying, those movies, the superheroes are dark, so the supervillains are even darker, and at times it seems kind of muddied in what's good and what's bad, which you can do that, you can have a morally ambiguous superhero movie, that's fine, but this isn't like that, and I think it's better. And anyway, there's a lot of strong points to Shazam, but I want to focus on these two, the writing and the performances. So first up, the writing. With the way Shazam is marketed, you'd imagine this is a largely childish superhero film. After all, it is a kid who becomes a superhero, but it's not. It's a different type of superhero movie, but it's not kiddish. It doesn't shy away from darkness. It actually strikes a really strong medium where the villains are evil but still recognizable as human, and the heroes good but marred by the same inane mistakes we all make that make us feel like we're bad people. The overarching story of Shazam isn't earth-shattering or frankly relevant to Earth at all. It's, for the first time in a while, a hero-centric film. The world isn't at risk, there's no race against time, it's a nice plot that's tightly wrapped together and doesn't have you worry about the world, instead you worry about the characters, which means we now have to care about Billy Batson. And the writers really did a good job with that. By the end of the movie, you feel bonded to the characters. The dialogue, though, is what really will sell you on Shazam. The jokes land and they land perfectly. They never feel out of place, assuming you don't live the most boring life on the planet. Sometimes that can't always be said of superhero movies. Sometimes they do not fit with the scene whatsoever. Sometimes it makes a serious movie seem very, very campy and not like the characters have a lighthearted sense of humor which they use to cope. You probably have something that comes to mind when I said that. It felt like a step forward in a lot of ways. And I get this may sound dumb, but it felt revolutionary in terms of superhero movies, kind of like Iron Man. Iron Man stepped in and it redefined the way the genre looked, same as X-Men did in 2000 something. It was campy but good, faithful but not bad, and faithless but not in a bad way. It didn't feel like we were watching some bogged down kids movie, except for some obvious stuff that they can't do because it's PG-13. It felt like a really honest take on a superhero movie from someone that really loved DC and really wanted to do a good job with it. And when the movie does get dark, it doesn't feel out of place because it's set in a world like ours. Only except superheroes actually exist. The characters act upbeat, but we see their vulnerabilities. It feels more like the real world than most other superhero movies, and that's really special. I liked it. Let's talk about the other thing I mentioned, the performances. The writing is excellent, but the movie's true potential could not have been achieved if it were not for the cast. Initially, this film was going to be Shazam v Black Adam, back when everybody was doing Super v Super movies, and thank God they didn't do that, so instead the movie sat in limbo for close to 5 years, until David Sandberg came upon it and started casting his version of Shazam. Or Captain Marvel. I can't really put my finger on what in particular stuck with me so much for the performances, which is a bad thing to say considering I'm a movie critic. But when I think about it, and the biggest thing that stood out, it was how genuine the characters feel. And I don't mean genuine as in, well, these could be real people, it's not just an actor. I mean that everyone in this movie put a lot into their performance. It feels like you're watching an actual family together. It's easy to get caught up in the moment when you watch Shazam. It's easy to start caring a lot lot more about these people instead of just viewing them as extras in a superhero movie. David Sandberg did an excellent job at setting the mood in every scene and how to go forward with this and that, and Zachary Levi too, because I know there was a lot of improvisation that was done on the set of the movie, and as you guys probably know, I like Iron Man a lot, and Iron Man utilized a lot of that improvisation that lends to the movie feeling a lot more real because you have a lot more real reactions. Now the next part is going to be the spoiler part, so fair warning. 3, 2, 1. Okay, there we go. So, firstly, this movie has a lot of twists to it, which is why I'm including a lot of them in this segment. I feel like talking about it in the main part of this review is going to negatively affect viewings from people who want to go in with no spoilers. So, let's get into that. Probably the biggest twist in the movie, and not really a big one if you've read the comics, is that the Shazam family is in the movie. I 100% did not expect this at all, and it seemed like a weird thing to do. Like, are you really gonna do Shazam and then in the same movie introduce all the 5 of them like that? Gonna do that? That's bold. They did do it, and David Sandberg did it really, really well. I like the actors they chose. I won't say who exactly, so it's still a surprise for you, but the casting of all except Mary Marvel was really fucking well done in my opinion. I was impressed. I legitimately was. It's one of the first few times I've seen casting in a movie where I was sitting there like, holy shit, this is... First up, I don't really get spoiled on who's in a movie. I wasn't this time, and I was really happy with it. Another twist is the violence. Savannah, the antagonist, played by Mark Strong, can get really dark and really suddenly. It's not really a shock, it tracks with who he is, and reminds you how evil he truly is, but at the same point, it goes so far in ways you don't generally expect from a movie like this, and they are held back in certain aspects by the fact it's PG-13. There's not a lot of blood, there's not a lot of gore. Someone gets their head bit off, but you don't actually see the head get thrown away. So there's stuff like that where very clearly they were held up by the fact that it's PG-13. The family aspect of the movie was another thing I didn't expect them to play into as much, but I'm glad they did, and I really like the casting for that. I really just overall like the casting for this movie. I wasn't expecting something like Shazam would be one that I'd have so much praise for. In particular, Cooper Andrews, who plays the foster father, Victor Vasquez, I really liked him. I've met him. I like the actor. I like the guy. And when the main character, Billy Batson, finds his real mother and she blatantly says she didn't want him, you can see the tonal shift with him as he abandons that luggage he'd been carrying with him the whole movie and the whole character's life. Instead of being afraid of further emotional attachment, he now embraces that emotional attachment. Shazam bites off a lot, but not more than it can handle. Its small-scale story and emphasis on family from the very first scene to the very last is welcome. I applaud DC for taking on a movie like Shazam and being faithful to it. Characters that we see very little of still feel realistic and important and not just a gag or throwaway, with the exception of a few. Shazam is what I really wish we'd seen of Superman, and I hope we get a sequel to Shazam soon that shows this very human character who embraces flaws in people while still looking for the best side in them and not being turned down by humanity. Its biggest issues are the CGI, which can be blamed to the low budget of around $80 million, and that a fair amount of this movie is more or less rule of cool. Of course, Shazam as a whole is rule of cool, so basically, if you're looking for an introspective film, this isn't it. It's good, it's got some neat commentary on the world, but it's not Oscar-worthy. It's just really fun and really well executed. Overall, I give Shazam an 8. I highly recommend it, so next weekend, if you're looking for something fun to do, go see Shazam. It's what I'll be doing. I don't often rewatch movies, but this is one I'll have to see again because I loved it so much. Thank you to everybody for watching this video. If you have something you liked about Shazam, if you're watching this after you've seen it, or if you're coming back to comment, let me know. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say, and if this convinced you to see or not see Shazam, I'd like to know in any case, whichever. Positive or negative, I love hearing what you guys have to say, and appreciate any and all comments you guys leave. And, of course, I'm demonetized because YouTube has lied, and they haven't gotten back to me in the 30 days they promised they would get back to for the fake demonetization they did because their employees are very, very big idiots. So, if you would like to support me and help me out financially, you can visit my merch store, link in the description, my Patreon, link in the description, and my Twitch, where you can subscribe if you have Amazon Prime, for free, by the way. And that all helps me out financially. Any and all is greatly appreciative, so thank you to those that do that. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Huge thank you to Patreon supporters Anonymous and Matt Porter. I really appreciate it.